So Mark Cuban's Dallas Mavericks quietly stopped playing the national anthem before games this season, and he told ESPN initially he made the decision to stop playing the anthem after talking to NBA Commissioner Adam Silver. And all was well and good until, well, just the other day, and the controversy of the week, well, one of the controversies of the week anyway, involves a reporter noticing, hey, what happened to the national anthem, Mark? Now the NBA has come out and said all teams will now play the national anthem in keeping with long-standing league policy. Mark Cuban for a long time has said, look, we hear the voices of people who feel the anthem doesn't represent them, and that is NBA players as well as fans. And he also added after this whole thing that the national anthem police in this country are out of control. If you want to complain to your boss and ask why they don't play the national anthem every day before you start work. And all this is 100% marketing. Let me bring in Adam Rizzieri. He's the chief marketing officer, agency partner, interactive advertising, frequently on the show here. Adam, good morning. How you been?
Scott, man, I'm trying to stay warm, but man, it's cold in Texas, man. Like, not only is it cold because of what Mark Cuban's trying to do to our national anthem, and thank goodness we saw a reversal on that, but we actually might get snow here today in Dallas.
Oh my God, what is it like? You're probably freezing. What is it, like 50?
It's so, get this. So, last weekend I'm doing some work around the house, literally wearing a tank top outside. Yesterday I was at the American Airlines Center, and my hands, it was so cold that my fingers were hurting. I mean,
oh, you poor bastard. It's 8 degrees here. 8 degrees.
Oh, you know what? I take
with
back
the wind chill. And that's cold for Cincinnati. That's cold, but that is, yeah. Feels like we're not going to see above freezing until maybe this time next week. But
oh Lord,
yeah. So no one here is going, oh, geez, poor Adam. So there's outrage brewing over this thing, except that here's the thing, right? This has been going on before Christmas. So the NBA started up, I think, a few days before Christmas. And since then, at that point, they didn't play the national anthem there in Dallas. Now, if it's so offensive, why did it take until February for someone to notice?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a sneaky move, right? Like, we're in the middle of this thing called Corona, right? And so stands are super empty. You've got very, very light game attendance. And so it was kind of like they were pulling a fast one. It's like, while people are out of the stands, let's just not play it. In fact, let's try to normalize not playing it and just see if anybody catches on. Mm-hmm. The people that are kind of, I think, being really vocal about this are those who are at every game. I think, what a blessing to be able to be present at every Dallas Mavericks game, Not everybody can afford that, first of all, or just work it into their schedules, right? I mean, it's expensive to be a season ticket holder. It's expensive to go to these games where, parking alone might cost you $50, right? I mean,
yep.
I'm thinking like what over at Jerry World is what I call where the Cowboys play. And I think a pizza there, actually a beer is more expensive than a water, right? So,
yeah. I
mean, it's a privilege to be able to go to these things every day. It must be so nice to say, oh my gosh, I hear the national anthem so much, I'm kind of over it. I mean, I think it's kind of a terrible thing to say, to be honest.
Right. Well, it used to be, and I'll get more of this later, it used to be kind of like a big deal, but it's not anymore. It's just kind of become part of, I guess, what's expected. But so I can measure, I don't know if there's outrage here in Cincinnati about it. There's other stuff to be outraged around here. I know a lot of people will be upset with that's it. I'm boycotting the NBA. And I'm sure a lot of people have done that. But what's the temperature in Dallas relative to this? And not the physical temperature, obviously, but the temperature of the populace down there where you are, Adam, in how they're taking this. Are most people like, I don't really care? Because Texas is still a pretty red state.
Yeah, Texas is a pretty red state, but it's also a very diverse state. And so you have a lot of different, obviously ideas and opinions. But, looking back to survey data from 2017, and forgive me, I don't have 2021 survey data, but 88% of sports fans prefer the national anthem to play before the game starts. It's a huge part of the fan experience. And also, too, it's not only, a sign of patriotism, but it's also an opportunity for up-and-coming artists, singers, to perform the national anthem in front of a live, big audience. It's a really big deal. You look back to old videos of, a young Taylor Swift, right? And the highlights of those videos are sometimes a very talented young kid performing the Star-Spangled Banner in front of a big audience. Mm-hmm. So people in Dallas want the national anthem to be played. I think that one tweet about, if you don't want the Star-Spangled Banner to be played, complain to your boss about it, right? Like that one tweet from Mark Cuban. Man, he bought the organization. He bought an organization that standardized playing the national anthem before every game. It's not like it's not like he came into the situation without the Star Spangled Banner, turned it on, and decided to turn it off. And he walked into a sporting event, a sporting culture that has tradition. And, Scott, since 1918, the Star Spangled Banner, our national anthem, has played before sporting events. And it all started Game 1 of the World Series, the Boston Red Sox at the Chicago Cubs. And this was literally playing right before, obviously the World Series, but before the players themselves were actually drafted into the war. And so sports is a great way to unify people. And then it's also a great way to kind of, I guess, help people build bridges across cultures, across religions. Sports is a big part of racial integration in our country. And so the national anthem being a part of it makes a lot of sense, because sports does help a nation sort of, kind of build their national identity and their culture. So, I think as Texans and as a citizen here in Dallas, it was really hard to see Cuban make this decision. Scott, when I was a kid, Jason Kidd, Kidd, was co-rookie of the year with Grant Hill when I was, I believe, a fifth grader, right?
Sure.
And so my brother and I, we won this contest at the grocery store called Big Kid, Kidd on campus, Big Kid on campus. And Jason Kidd came to our elementary school.
Oh, cool.
Met our class. It was really a cool experience. And so as a person, as a fan, I formed this relationship with the Mavericks from being a young kid. And frankly, this is how most pro sports teams do it. They create a relationship with a kid. They nurture that relationship over several years. And by the time that kid is a tax-paying adult, it's a great consumer that's kind of hooked for life. So here I am. I've kind of gone through the typical marketing cycle that pro sports kind of engages in with an individual, builds a relationship over several years, starting from the early ones before being 18, obviously. And now here I am. I'm like, well, there's this hashtag in Dallas, MFFL, Mavs Fan for Life. Had Cuban not so quickly reversed his decision to not play the national anthem, I'd be looking around. I'd be like, well, you know what? Who else can I watch? What other team can I support that is more in line with really the values and ideals of
and I get that. And okay, so that's you as the kid who came of age in the Jason Kidd era, and you had to and that's why the players, that's why they do all that outreach. They want to get when they're young and be like, oh my God, idolize my favorite player, and then follow the player because there's a connection there. And now you got a lifelong fan. That's how we used to market. But today it's a lot different, right? It's changed. It's safe to say that, in America's pastime is baseball, but the de facto pastime of Black America, of urban America, is basketball, right? That's the way it's been my entire lifetime. And so now, if that's who you're trying to market to, does it make sense to play the national anthem, based on Black Lives Matters? And you mentioned the data that you saw from last year about 88% of NBA fans want the anthem to be played. But when you get more granular, you get down to the racial and also the age demographics. I'm going to bet that probably starts to change a little bit, doesn't it?
That's an interesting question, Scott. So you're right. Things have changed quite a bit in terms of how pro sports connects with the young consumer and just their consumer in general, right? And so, but the biggest thing is the thing that's kind of come in is a recognition with the Gen Z. The question is, how do we connect with the Gen Z, and how do we sort of nurture this new younger customer to be a Mavs fan for life, or to be one of our biggest consumers over time. And so the thing that we're seeing this year, and even looking to the Super Bowl advertising, a lot of nostalgia, a lot of throwbacks to 20 years ago. Really, I think they're trying to really relate right now to millennial buyers and to baby boomers. And so, there was the Flat Matthew Doritos 3D commercial. Doritos 3D hasn't been on shelves in 20 years. And they know that they can leverage Matthew McConaughey because, a lot of people, millennials to the young boomers, we've been watching Matthew McConaughey on rom-coms for years because our wives have made us, right?
Right.
But so we've seen advertising really devoted towards these I guess more traditional customers. I don't think they've cracked the code yet for the Gen Zs. And I think they still have a lot of work to do. We're going to see them probably leverage a combination of esports and then probably also legal sports wagering to better entice the the Gen Zs who are coming of age.
Yeah, right. Because that's where it is. It's all interactive now, too, right? And, that's a natural, logical extension of the fantasy sports world, too. Adam Rizzieri's on the show. Yeah. He's the chief marketing officer at Agency Partner Interactive. That's in Dallas, right at the heart where the Mark Cuban Dallas Mavericks controversy is right now, where he is refusing to play the national anthem. The NBA stepped in and said, nope, all our venues are going to do that. And it's a really interesting, and this is all 100% marketing, too. I mean, this is not, drawing a line in the sand and standing up for values and this is what I think is right. I stand with Black America and we've got to finally pay attention. Mark Cuban is a multi-gazillionaire because he's a smart marketer, right? And so the old way used to be middle of the road, don't make waves. How did it change? How did we get to the point where now you're taking sides? And I go back, for 5 years to Nike. The Colin Kaepernick thing is going on like 5 years now, right? And remember when Nike did the commercial finally with him a few years ago and they're like, oh, this is it for Nike. They really screwed it up now. I don't know. Nike's still around and selling gear, man. They seem to know what they're doing. How did we get to the point where we now embrace controversy instead of shying away from a marketing standpoint?
Oh, such a good question. And really it's kind of a sad answer, I think. We're seeing these big organizations that are not really living by principles or values, but they're chasing trends to make a buck, right? When Nike endorsed...
Nothing new there, baby, right?
Nothing new there, exactly. Just making a dollar, right? And when Nike endorsed Kaepernick, following that campaign, their company became more valuable than it's ever been. Mm-hmm. And so but keep in mind, right? This is a company that literally leveraged slave labor to manufacture their product, obviously years in the past, right? So that's documented. These companies do not practice what they preach in a lot of cases. And the NBA is no different. And of course, now we're talking about the Dallas Mavericks and Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban wouldn't even, with Megyn Kelly, wouldn't even recognize that his customer, President Xi Jinping in China, he wouldn't recognize the fact that they are guilty of atrocious human rights violations.
Sure.
So on the left hand, they are doing business with a partner who literally will persecute and discriminate based on religious and ethnic differences, just doing terrible things to people over there. Even taking children away from their homes to sort of breed like the next super athlete of the NBA on the left hand, right? And on the other hand, we're talking about social justice issues. We are literally putting Black Lives Matter on the basketball court. We are, there's a lot of hypocrisy to this. And so to now also go to that next step and say, you know what, guys, we're also not going to play the national anthem. So, okay, so the weird thing about that now is now you're also taking away a tool that the players can use to peacefully protest when the time is right for them to peacefully protest, whether it's standing for the anthem and support or whether it's kneeling or throwing a fist in the air. The players can't even do that now. So There's a lot of very mixed messaging coming out of the NBA. Well, that was coming out of the NBA and the Dallas Mavericks. And obviously the Twitterverse was really, really active after that Axios reporter caught on to the fact that the anthem had not played. And very quickly, of course, the league was like, you know what? We're gonna walk that back.
Yep.
Things have actually been pretty good for the NBA this year. Their ratings are up 34% this year versus last year. So, why shake the boat when we're kind of sailing in the right direction?
Yeah, I guess right now you probably want to move back more to the mid just because of COVID, right? Now, once we open everything back up and the spigot starts to flow again, you want to pick sides. That's just the way we market now. Now, that may go back or may morph into some other form in 10, 15, 20 years. It always does, but there's really nothing new here. The idea about being polarized about whether they're going to play the national anthem, that's what they want. You're talking about the product. You're talking about the Dallas Mavericks and Mark Cuban for taking a stand. And, it's at the end of the day, he's getting so much publicity and so much traction online and, on social that it's great for the brand. And it's totally contrary to what we always believe that, hey, you don't want to make waves here. You want to play it down the middle. Adam Rizzieri, Chief Marketing Officer at Agency Partner Interactive. That's in Dallas this morning. Thanks for joining as always, Adam. Good stuff. Appreciate you.